Pretty cold tonight. I got my stove going, heating some water. I'm gonna heat some water for tomorrow and also heat some water for my sleeping bag. I don't think I'm gonna be able to get any farther than I got. Unfortunately, the trail is not very packed down. It's slowing me down quite a bit, and so I can't make very good progress. Oh well, I have to hit it during summer when it's a little bit better to get those other locations, those sites that I wanted to see. It's about 6 a.m. Got up to go to the bathroom and a little bit hungry. I think I'm gonna have some breakfast, but I'm gonna crawl back in bed, have breakfast in bed. It is pretty cold in here. I don't know if you can see the ice crystals on the tent walls. Making the same breakfast as yesterday morning. I already got my milk here, and then I've got my dry cereal here. I'm just gonna add the two together and have my cereal. Easy, I don't have to really cook or anything like that. I just ate some breakfast and I'm gonna crawl back in bed. I don't wanna tear down the tent in the dark, and so I thought I could use an extra hour of sleep. And it's cold. It's about 7:20. It's still pretty stinking cold. And I'm gonna stay in bed. You can see the light starting to show. You can actually see the trees through the tent, but I'm gonna wait a little bit before I get up. The sun is not quite up yet, but the glow is pretty good out there, so I think I'm gonna start some water for the day, and then once I get that going, I'm gonna start packing up the tent, and then certainly it's gonna need a jacket and some extra gloves to do some of this stuff because it's still pretty cold out here. So I got an extra sleeping pad on this trip, and it was absolutely phenomenal, that extra pad. It really helped with the temperature. In fact, I only had to heat my bottle once in the middle of the night. In fact, I don't even think I needed to heat it up. I just wanted to heat it up, and I was hungry. It was about midnight and I didn't eat. I was gonna just go with snacks, but I decided the snacks weren't enough. It was kind of keeping me awake. I was kind of hungry. Anyway, here's my tent with all my gear, kind of in shambles because I loaded it in here when it dark, and this side's a little bit cleaner. Got my food over here. But I'm gonna climb out of bed now. Brr. One other thing, I kept my backup battery in my pocket. I'm gonna be able to charge my phone, and it should work because it's been in there all night long in the sleeping bag with me. I thought about going up to do a day hike and decided against it. It's pretty hard trekking, and the snow here is pretty deep, and didn't want to expend all my energy and then have to reset up the tent. Anyway, I'm gonna head back to the car. The trip is quite a bit shortened, more than I wanted, but I was able to make some of the changes and adjustments that I needed, and I mentioned a couple of them about my battery backup, and the booties that I'm wearing kept me warm. Also my sleeping pad, got the doubled up sleeping pad, that really worked. I feel really warm. My back feels warm against the ground right now. I don't feel any cold like I did last time. I'm heating up some water, actually melting some snow, and also it takes quite a bit of snow to create water, so I filled the thing all the way up, and I'll probably add some more after that even. In other words, you don't get a cup of water out of a cup of snow. Maybe a quarter of that, maybe, depending on the water content of the snow. While that's boiling, I'm gonna roll my sleeping bag up and get my other stuff into my pack, and then I'll try to get as much gear as I can together, tear down the tent. Hopefully the water will be boiling by then. I'm sure it will be, but have to keep an eye on it. Although the sky is pretty light, you can see, but the sun's not hitting us at this point in the valley. I imagine it won't hit us for another, at this point, probably at least another hour and a half before the sun hits us here. So I've got everything packed, got my backpack all prepared. I'm heading out, my campsite. Just gotta take off my jacket, put on my snowshoes, strap my jacket to my pack, and head out. Take one more look at campsite. Make sure I didn't leave any trash or anything that's important. All right, and I'm out of here. I had to pack it down to get to my campsite last night. I just want to give you an idea of how deep the snow is. I know the trail looks pretty well packed down, but it's actually not terribly packed down. Not too many people have trekked on here, and it gets worse the further I went up. So I'm having to make a trail through the snow more and more, and I figure the higher I'm going to get up, the worse it's going to get. That's one of the reasons I turned around. I didn't want to be hitting stuff that was really deep, but this stuff is pretty deep. And that's with snowshoes. So if you have to make your own trail, even with snowshoes, you're going down pretty deep. I was going down up to my knee on a lot of places there, and some places not, but with a pack for sure. If I didn't have a pack, it wouldn't have been so bad, but like a day hikes are not too bad because you're not carrying all the weight. So basically you've got two things going against you. The further you go up, one, there's nobody packing down the trail, and two, the higher you go up, the deeper the snow gets. And even here where I'm not even that high up, probably like at 7,500 feet, still pretty deep. Not that it's not doable, it just makes it really hard with the pack to be able to trek up the mountain. If you have other people with you, you can take turns breaking trail, so one person's not doing all the work. I see a lot of places where somebody's stepped in there. Looks like they're not using snowshoes. Not recommended up here. Definitely bring some snowshoes. Okay. Right there again. Pretty much every step they went. Here's another one over here. Another one over here. It's pretty hard to walk through here if you're sinking in deep into the snow, even with snowshoes. That peak on the left is Thunder Mountain, and the one straight ahead is Whitetail Peak. I always try to keep aware of my well-being, and if something's not right, you got to take care of it. So I was seeing that the trail up ahead was getting harder and harder, and I was tired. So trekking through the snow is a lot of hard work, especially with a pack. It's not so bad if you're just doing a day trip, snowshoes, but you throw a pack on you and you're alone and you have no one else to break trail, you get wiped out. And I was thinking even this morning, maybe I should go up to Lost Lake on a day hike up there, come back down, get my stuff, and head out. And I am glad I didn't. I am hurting. I am sore and tired, so I'm glad I made the right choice. I did about just under 7 miles, 6.9 miles in, so that's about how far I have to go back to the car. I've already done about a mile, and it's slow going even downhill. But I'm glad I have these snowshoes. This would be a mistake to not bring them. Probably would have turned around a long time ago yesterday had I not brought them. when it's just cold and you're hiking and there's no snow, that's one thing. You can forget all the gear that's required for dealing with snow. But yeah, that snow element becomes a different story. It's not so easy to walk through in just boots. And I did that for a good portion of it. But I'm going to use the snowshoes all the way back. No sense in taking them off. There's something else I noticed about hiking, backpacking in winter, especially backpacking. I have so much weight on me that I have to watch the trail really closely. Watch my step. I don't want to have a misstep. You have a misstep and you're done for out here. So I don't really enjoy what I'm walking through as much. It's really kind of a bummer because it's really pretty up here. And another observation is when it's cold, I tend to wake up a little bit later than usual, waiting for it to warm up just a little bit, but it doesn't warm up. So you stay in your sleeping bag, I had breakfast in my sleeping bag. And the problem with that is you get a really late start, even though you could be hiking already. And it's already short hours in winter. So what you're doing is you're even shortening it even more. And that's what happened yesterday. I got a late start I think it was about 10:30. I should have been up way before then, but it is what it is. And I guess you just take those things in stride. It's getting kind of hot, so I'm gonna shed my hats. Maybe I'll just wear my beanie. Got major hat head. I should have brought the sun shower, shampoo, blow dryer. Or maybe I'll just take a plunge in the stream. Oh, that looks like the good swimming hole. Take a bath in there. Brr. I'm not in the Polar Bear Club. As I mentioned earlier, I did my usual self-evaluation during this trip. And if you doubt my physical well-being, I will point out two videos. One right at the beginning of my trip before I actually started on the hike, and then the last one of the day yesterday, and it will be clear how tired I was. I'm just about ready to go to get on the road. The snow is pretty deep. I didn't make very good progress the last half of the day. So I began to wonder why I was so exhausted. The usual or first response is, well, I'm probably out of shape. That might be true. I'm probably a little bit out of shape, but are there other factors that are contributing? Was it the cold? I don't think it was the cold, because I really wasn't cold. When I was hiking, it was plenty warm. And when I was sleeping, I didn't experience any cold discomfort on this trip. Was it because I had to be hiking through the snow? Well, that is partially true, because hiking is a little more difficult when there is snow on the ground. But there was a more obvious reason. My pack was too heavy. Realizing this, I did an inventory of the items that I brought, and I considered, was there anything that I could get rid of? Not really. I needed every item that I brought. So if I needed everything, were there items that I could change? Now, the stuff I brought, I knew it was older and as a result heavier, but it worked. So that's why I continued to bring these things. So here are my 7 items that I'm considering replacing. Number 1 is fuel. Now, I'm not going to be getting rid of my fuel, but I could be burning my fuel more efficiently. And there are 2 ways that I will be approaching this. First of all, I will need to get something that will shield the wind. And secondly, I will need to be paying attention more closely to my burning of the fuel. If I'm able to save on fuel, I will, as a result, be able to save on weight, because I won't have to bring as much fuel. Number 2, my sleeping pad. My 2 sleeping pads already weigh less than 2 pounds. A new one would weigh about the same, and it would cost about $200, so there's not really a benefit weight-wise, only space saving. Number 3, my stove. I use the Coleman dual fuel single burner stove, and it weighs about 2.5 pounds. My other option that I have considered is the MSR Whisper Light, which is about 11.5 ounces. The weight savings is just under 2 pounds. However, it does cost about $200. So that's something I will consider in the future. Number 4 are snowshoes. The ones I have weigh about 4 pounds and really good ones weigh about 2 pounds. It is about $375 to $425 for these snowshoes. This is not a huge saving. I don't think this will be something I will consider right now, but maybe in the future. Number 5, my backpack. My backpack weighs probably 5 pounds. The ones today weigh just a little over 2 pounds. That's quite a bit of difference. So it's about almost 3 pounds difference. And this is something I might consider. New pack will cost me anywhere from $225 on up to $500 depending on what I get. Number 6 is my sleeping bag. Now my sleeping bag is a 5-degree Fahrenheit sleeping bag and it weighs just under 6 pounds. I saw some online that go down to -20 and it weighs 3 pounds 6 ounces. So it's almost 3 pounds savings in weight. That's quite substantial. It does cost about $800, so it is a big ticket item. This is something that is a serious consideration for changing. And I'm not only considering changing it because of the weight factor, but because of the temperature that it goes down to. Number 7, my tent. So this is the worst offender or worst weight offender in my whole getup. It weighs close to 15 pounds. I have done my research and I found one that is under 4 pounds. It's about 3 pounds, 12 ounces. And it would cost me about $500. This is something that is a definite change. I will be looking into this in the near future. This is something that will have to change before I go out on a winter hike again, because that substantial change will make a big difference in my pack weight. Now, if I were to change everything I listed here, I would almost save 24 pounds. But just the 3 items that I listed at the end, my tent, sleeping bag, and pack, that would save me about 18 pounds, which is fairly substantial. If I just change these 3 worst offenders, I believe I can live with the other heavier items, and maybe in the future I would change those. One of the reasons I haven't changed these pieces of equipment in the past is cost, and that has not really changed. The top 3 offenders cost about $1,750. The others would cost me about $750. Altogether, that's $2,500. I will be taking the worst 3 offenders and working on those first and see if maybe I can progress beyond that if necessary. I will keep you posted on my progress in replacing my equipment and continue to give reviews on those changes as necessary. Thank you for watching my solo winter backpacking series.